What if the most important battle for the future of the Sahel is not being fought with weapons, but with water? For decades, much of the outside world has viewed this region through the same narrow images: cracked soil, failing crops, advancing desert, and communities waiting for relief. But in Burkina Faso, a different strategy is beginning to take shape. It is based on a simple but powerful idea. A nation that cannot secure water cannot fully secure its food, its economy, or its future. Under Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso is placing new attention on dams, reservoirs, irrigation systems, restored farmland, and local water management. Together, these projects are being presented as more than separate construction sites. They form the early outline of what could become a green shield across the Sahel, a system designed to hold rain when it falls, protect farmland when the dry season arrives, and help rural communities produce beyond one and certain harvest each year. This is not merely an environmental story. It is also a question of African sovereignty. Who decides how the continent's resources are developed? Who controls the infrastructure that determines whether villages can farm, raise livestock, and survive drought? And can African nations build long-term systems that reduce dependence on emergency aid and imported food? These questions matter far beyond Burkina Faso. Mali and Niger face many of the same pressures, from unpredictable rainfall to soil degradation and rural insecurity. If Burkina Faso can connect water storage, irrigation, land restoration, and community management into one working model, the lessons could influence the wider alliance of Sahel states. Follow this channel as we examine the changes reshaping Africa from the perspective of the people living through them. In this video, we will look beyond the headlines. We will explore why water has become a strategic resource, how Burkina Faso is rebuilding its reservoir network, what these projects could mean for farmers and local economies, and why the idea of a green shield may become one of the most important development experiments in the modern Sahel. Its success, however, is not guaranteed or complete. For generations, the people of Burkina Faso have lived with a difficult reality. Their future has depended almost entirely on the arrival of seasonal rains. When the rains came on time, crops flourished and families harvested enough food to sustain themselves. But when the rains arrived late, ended too soon, or failed completely, entire communities faced hunger, financial hardship, and uncertainty. This dependence on unpredictable weather shaped the country's history far more than any political decision. During the colonial period, water infrastructure was developed only in limited areas that served administrative or commercial interests. Large sections of rural Burkina Faso received little investment in dams, irrigation canals, or long-term water storage. After independence, governments attempted to expand agricultural production by building reservoirs and small dams across the country. These projects brought hope to many farming communities, providing water for crops, livestock, and household use during the dry season. However, many of these structures gradually deteriorated. Years of sediment accumulation reduced reservoir capacity, while damaged canals, aging embankments, and limited maintenance weakened their effectiveness. Financial constraints, rapid population growth, and increasingly unpredictable rainfall placed additional pressure on an already fragile system. As productive land expanded, reliable water supplies did not keep pace with demand. During the 1980s, President Thomas Sankara promoted land restoration, environmental protection, and community participation as essential parts of national development. His vision encouraged tree planting, soil conservation, and greater responsibility for managing natural resources. Although many of those initiatives demonstrated promising results, political changes and limited long-term investment slowed their expansion in later years. By the beginning of the 21st century, Burkina Faso faced a clear reality. Simply waiting for better rainfall could no longer guarantee food security or economic stability. The country required a new approach that would restore aging infrastructure while creating stronger systems for storing and distributing water. This historical experience explains why rebuilding reservoirs and irrigation networks is no longer viewed as ordinary public construction. Instead, it has become the foundation for a broader national effort to strengthen agriculture, protect rural livelihoods, and prepare the country for an increasingly unpredictable climate. After Captain Ibrahim Traore assumed leadership, Burkina Faso began redefining the role of water in national development. Previous governments had often treated drought as a recurring emergency that required temporary assistance. The new administration instead argued that lasting stability could only be achieved by controlling one of the country's most valuable resources. Water was no longer viewed simply as a seasonal necessity. It became a strategic asset linked directly to food security, economic growth, and national sovereignty. This new vision focused first on restoring infrastructure that had already served rural communities for decades. Many reservoirs had gradually lost storage capacity because of sediment accumulation, while numerous dams required structural rehabilitation after years of limited maintenance. Rather than abandoning these facilities, the government prioritized their restoration so they could once again support irrigation, livestock, fisheries, and household water supplies. Plans also included expanding irrigation networks into productive farming areas where dependable water could significantly increase agricultural output. Alongside the rehabilitation of approximately 35 strategic dams, authorities announced an ambitious program to restore and improve 100 reservoirs across the country. These projects were designed to increase water storage, reduce vulnerability to prolonged dry seasons, and create more reliable supplies for agriculture. Additional initiatives included restoring degraded farmland, strengthening watershed protection, improving dam safety, and encouraging sustainable management of both surface water and groundwater resources through long-term planning. Community participation became another essential pillar of the strategy. Local water committees were encouraged to monitor infrastructure, coordinate water distribution, organize routine maintenance, and reduce conflicts between farmers and livestock producers. At the same time, international financing and national investment supported the Burkina Faso Water Security Project, providing resources for safer dams, expanded irrigation services, and stronger climate resilience. Although many of these initiatives remain under implementation, they represent a fundamental shift in national policy. Instead of accepting water scarcity as an unavoidable reality, Burkina Faso is attempting to transform every restored reservoir and irrigation system into part of a broader foundation for agricultural independence, stronger rural livelihoods, and a more resilient future for the entire Sahel. The strategy also emphasizes that every rehabilitated dam should strengthen local food production, protect harvest during uncertain rainy seasons, and reduce long-term dependence on emergency assistance. Although dams and reservoirs are the most visible parts of Burkina Faso's water strategy, they represent only one layer of a much larger system. Government planners increasingly describe their objective as building an integrated network capable of capturing rainfall, restoring damaged land, supporting agriculture, and strengthening communities against future climate shocks. This broader vision explains why many observers have begun referring to the effort as a green shield for the Sahel rather than simply another irrigation program. At the center of this strategy are reservoirs that collect water during the rainy season and release it gradually throughout the long dry months. Rehabilitated dams help maintain stable water supplies for irrigation, livestock, fisheries, and household use, reducing dependence on unpredictable rainfall. Modern irrigation canals then distribute water more efficiently, allowing farmers to cultivate crops beyond the traditional growing season and produce more reliable harvests despite changing weather patterns. The Green Shield extends well beyond engineering projects. Degraded farmland surrounding reservoirs is being restored through soil conservation, erosion control, and improved watershed management. Protecting vegetation around water sources reduces sediment entering reservoirs, extends the lifespan of dams, and improves groundwater recharge. These environmental measures strengthen the entire system by ensuring that restored infrastructure remains productive for many years instead of gradually losing capacity through neglect. Local communities also play a central role in this model. Water committees are expected to supervise routine maintenance, organize fair water distribution, resolve disputes among users, and encourage sustainable farming practices. Their participation helps transform reservoirs from government projects into locally managed assets that directly support economic development and social stability. Viewed together, reservoirs, irrigation networks, restored farmland, environmental protection, and community management create a single interconnected system rather than isolated development projects. Each component strengthens the others. Without healthy watersheds, reservoirs fill with sediment. Without irrigation, stored water produces limited economic value. Without community participation, infrastructure quickly deteriorates. Burkina Faso's Green Shield, therefore, represents more than a collection of dams. It is an attempt to build a resilient foundation capable of protecting agriculture, supporting rural livelihoods, and reducing the long-term impact of climate uncertainty across the Sahel. The success of any national water strategy depends not only on ambitious plans, but also on visible projects that deliver practical results. Across Burkina Faso, several major initiatives now illustrate how the country's broader vision is being translated into real infrastructure. Rather than focusing on a single flagship dam, the government has emphasized rebuilding an entire network of reservoirs, irrigation systems, and restored agricultural land that can strengthen food production across multiple regions. One frequently cited example is the rehabilitation of the Gonse Dam. Constructed decades ago, the reservoir gradually lost much of its storage capacity because of sediment accumulation and aging infrastructure. Restoration work has focused on recovering water storage, improving operational safety, and ensuring that nearby farming communities once again benefit from dependable supplies for irrigation, livestock, and household use. Instead of replacing an existing asset, the project demonstrates how rehabilitation can often provide faster and more cost-effective results. The Gonse project forms part of a wider national effort that includes restoring approximately 35 strategic dams and improving 100 reservoirs throughout Burkina Faso. Authorities have also announced programs to expand irrigated farmland, restore degraded agricultural areas, strengthen watershed protection, and improve water management systems. Together, these initiatives aim to reduce dependence on seasonal rainfall while increasing agricultural productivity and protecting rural livelihoods from prolonged drought. Infrastructure alone, however, cannot guarantee lasting success. Every restored reservoir requires continuous maintenance, responsible management, and active community participation. Water committees help supervise distribution, coordinate maintenance activities, and encourage sustainable use of shared resources. The involvement reduces conflicts while ensuring that expensive public investments continue serving local communities for many years. Taken together, these projects reveal that Burkina Faso's strategy extends far beyond constructing dams. Each rehabilitated reservoir supports irrigation, Each restored hectare strengthens agricultural production, and each protected watershed improves the long-term performance of the entire system. Although many projects remain under implementation and their full economic impact will require continued evaluation, they already demonstrate a clear commitment to transforming water infrastructure into one of the country's most valuable foundations for sustainable development and long-term resilience throughout the Sahel. Although Burkina Faso's water strategy has attracted growing international attention, its long-term success will ultimately depend on overcoming several difficult challenges. Building reservoirs and irrigation systems requires substantial financial investment, but maintaining them over decades demands equally strong institutions, technical expertise, and consistent community participation. Without proper maintenance, even well-designed infrastructure can gradually lose effectiveness through sediment accumulation, equipment failure, or inadequate water management. Climate change presents another major obstacle. Rainfall across the Sahel has become increasingly unpredictable, with longer dry periods interrupted by more intense storms. Heavy rainfall can accelerate erosion and fill reservoirs with sediment, reducing their storage capacity. Extended droughts, meanwhile, limit the amount of water available for irrigation and increase competition among farmers, livestock producers, and nearby communities. These changing conditions require flexible management rather than relying solely on historical weather patterns. Security concerns also influence development efforts in several regions of Burkina Faso. Ongoing instability may delay construction projects, complicate maintenance activities, or restrict access to important infrastructure. Engineers, technicians, and local authorities must often operate under difficult conditions while continuing to protect essential water resources. Despite these challenges, officials argue that stronger agricultural systems can themselves contribute to greater long-term stability by improving food security and creating more economic opportunities. Effective governance therefore remains just as important as physical infrastructure. Transparent management of water resources, fair distribution among users, regular maintenance schedules, and continuous training for local water committees all play essential roles in protecting public investment. Cooperation between national authorities, local communities, development partners, and technical specialists increases the likelihood that restored reservoirs will continue serving future generations. The challenges facing Burkina Faso are significant, yet they also highlight the importance of the country's long-term approach. Building a resilient water system is not a project that can be completed within a single season or even a few years. It requires sustained commitment, careful planning, and ongoing adaptation as environmental and social conditions evolve. If these obstacles can be successfully managed, the country's Green Shield strategy may become an important example of how water security supports agricultural resilience and sustainable development throughout the Sahel. As Burkina Faso continues expanding its water infrastructure, many observers are asking whether the strategy could influence other countries across the Sahel. Nations such as Mali and Niger face similar pressures, including irregular rainfall, advancing desertification, rapid population growth, and heavy dependence on rain-fed agriculture. These shared challenges make Burkina Faso's experience especially relevant beyond its own national borders. The Green Shield model is not limited to constructing reservoirs. It combines water storage, irrigation, environmental restoration, soil protection, and community participation within one long-term development strategy. This integrated approach recognizes that agricultural resilience depends on several systems working together rather than on isolated infrastructure projects. Reservoirs provide water. Healthy watersheds protect reservoirs. Irrigation raises productivity, and local management helps preserve these investments over time. Regional cooperation could make this model even more powerful. Rivers, watersheds, trade routes, and environmental pressures often cross national borders. By sharing engineering knowledge, maintenance practices, irrigation methods, and lessons from failed projects, neighboring countries could reduce costs and avoid repeating the same mistakes. Joint training programs could also help local technicians, farmers, and water committees build stronger practical skills. However, Burkina Faso's strategy cannot simply be copied without adaptation. Every country has different geography, financial resources, security conditions, administrative capacity, and community structures. A reservoir that performs well in one region may be unsuitable in another. For this reason, the most valuable lesson is not the exact design of a dam or canal, but the principle of combining infrastructure with local management and environmental protection. If Burkina Faso continues showing measurable progress through restored reservoirs, expanded irrigation, improved harvests, and stronger rural livelihoods, its experience may encourage broader cooperation throughout West Africa. Mali, Niger, and other countries across the Sahel could study which methods produced lasting results and which approaches required correction. Over time, this exchange of knowledge could support a regional vision in which water security strengthens food production, reduces climate vulnerability, and creates greater stability. The importance of this strategy therefore reaches beyond Burkina Faso. It suggests that even in one of the world's most climate-sensitive regions, coordinated investment in water, land, and communities can create a stronger foundation for long-term resilience. Looking ahead, the future of Burkina Faso's Green Shield strategy will depend not only on completing current infrastructure projects, but also on maintaining steady progress over many years. Building reservoirs and irrigation canals is only the beginning. Lasting success will require careful maintenance, continuous investment, strong institutions, and active participation from local communities. These elements determine whether today's construction projects become tomorrow's lasting economic assets. Agricultural modernization will play an increasingly important role in this process. Reliable access to water allows farmers to diversify crops, improve yields, introduce more efficient irrigation methods, and reduce dependence on unpredictable rainy seasons. Higher agricultural productivity can strengthen household incomes, improve food security, and encourage young people to remain in rural communities instead of migrating because of limited economic opportunities. In this way, water infrastructure supports both economic development and social stability. Environmental protection must continue alongside agricultural expansion. Restoring forests, protecting watersheds, reducing soil erosion, and managing groundwater responsibly all help preserve the long-term effectiveness of reservoirs. Without these complementary measures, sediment accumulation and land degradation could gradually reduce the benefits created by expensive infrastructure investments. Sustainable development therefore requires balancing economic growth with responsible natural resource management. International cooperation may also contribute to the strategy's future success. Technical expertise, engineering partnerships, financial support, and knowledge sharing can strengthen national capacity while allowing Burkina Faso to adapt proven solutions from other regions facing similar climate conditions. At the same time, maintaining national ownership of development priorities ensures that projects continue reflecting local needs and long-term objectives rather than short-term external interests. Ultimately, the Green Shield represents more than a collection of dams, reservoirs, or irrigation canals. It reflects a broader vision in which water becomes the foundation for agricultural resilience, environmental recovery, and sustainable national development. Although significant challenges remain, the progress achieved so far demonstrates that long-term planning can gradually transform difficult environmental conditions into new opportunities. If Burkina Faso continues investing in both infrastructure and people, the country may strengthen its capacity to withstand future climate pressures while creating a more secure and productive future for generations to come across the Sahel. The ultimate measure of Burkina Faso's Green Shield strategy will not be the number of reservoirs that are constructed or rehabilitated, but the lasting improvements experienced by ordinary citizens. A successful water system should translate into stronger harvest, more reliable incomes, greater food security, and healthier rural communities. If these benefits become visible over time, the country's investment in water infrastructure could represent one of the most significant development efforts in its recent history. For farming families, reliable access to water means far more than higher crop production. It allows planting during longer periods of the year, reduces the uncertainty created by irregular rainfall, and provides opportunities to cultivate a wider variety of crops. Livestock producers also benefit from more dependable water supplies, while fisheries supported by reservoirs can generate additional sources of income for surrounding communities. Together, these improvements strengthen local economies and reduce vulnerability during difficult seasons. Young people may also find greater opportunities if agriculture becomes more productive and profitable. Instead of leaving rural areas because of limited employment prospects, more families could choose to invest in farming, food processing, irrigation services, and related businesses. Expanding agricultural value chains would create additional jobs while supporting broader economic development. Improved food production can also reduce dependence on imported products and strengthen national resilience during periods of international uncertainty. The long-term success of this vision, however, depends on maintaining public trust and responsible management. Reservoirs require continuous maintenance, transparent administration, environmental protection, and cooperation between government institutions and local communities. Every generation must continue protecting these resources if the original investment is to deliver lasting benefits for decades to come. Burkina Faso's Green Shield is therefore more than an infrastructure program. It reflects a broader belief that water security can become the foundation for food security, economic opportunity, environmental recovery, and national resilience. While many challenges remain, the strategy demonstrates how long-term planning can gradually reshape the future of a country facing difficult climatic conditions. Whether this vision achieves its full potential will depend on sustained commitment, practical management, and the determination of communities working together to protect one of their most valuable natural resources. Burkina Faso's efforts to build a green shield through reservoirs, irrigation systems, restored farmland, and protected watersheds represents far more than a response to recurring drought. It reflects a long-term national vision in which water becomes the foundation for agricultural resilience, food security, economic opportunity, and greater stability. By rehabilitating aging dams, improving storage capacity, expanding irrigation, and involving local communities, the country is attempting to turn environmental pressure into a source of lasting strength. The true success of this strategy will not be measured only by the number of reservoirs completed or the amount of money invested. Its real value will appear in stronger harvests, more dependable rural incomes, improved livestock production, healthier communities, and reduced dependence on emergency assistance. Achieving these results will require regular maintenance, transparent management, environmental protection, technical training, and continued cooperation between national authorities and the people who depend on these water systems every day. Burkina Faso's experience may also offer important lessons for neighboring countries. Mali and Niger face many of the same challenges, including irregular rainfall, land degradation, food insecurity, and pressure on rural livelihoods. While every country must adapt solutions to its own geography and resources, the principles of careful planning, community responsibility, and integrated water management can support wider cooperation throughout West Africa. Much work still remains. Climate uncertainty, security concerns, limited financing, and the need for skilled maintenance could slow progress. Yet the Green Shield shows that difficult conditions do not have to produce permanent dependence. With patience, discipline, and sustained investment, water infrastructure can become a powerful tool for national resilience and regional renewal. If this story has helped you better understand Africa's changing future, subscribe to the channel and share this video with others. Your support allows us to continue covering African news, the African Union, Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goïta, Abdourahmane Tiani, France, Mali, Niger, West Africa, and the Sahel with clear analysis, focused on the developments shaping the region for future generations. The future of the Sahel will depend not only on political decisions, but also on whether nations can secure water, protect farmland, support farmers, and build systems that endure through drought, conflict, and economic uncertainty. We sincerely appreciate your time and support. Every video on this channel is carefully researched, thoughtfully written, and meticulously edited by our dedicated team. We don't rely on automated production or shortcuts to create our content. Every story, every visual, and every detail is crafted with genuine care, passion, and a commitment to bringing you meaningful, high-quality videos.